Hi everybody, my name is Alan, and on behalf of the crew I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, as I was sitting here watching the introduction, I guess as you were, the thought that came to me was that we doing the show and you, the audience, have come together so many times already, so many times to express that experience of love, to share that experience of love, to share that recognition of the connection between us all, of that oneness that we talk about, that dedicated to the oneness. And we talk about it being time for that to be the real commitment, the real choice in our lives, to choose cooperation, to choose collaboration, to choose coming together in consciousness, in love, to share all the gifts we've been given on this extraordinary planet called Earth. And even though, as I've said so many times before, if you look in the newspaper and you don't know what date it is, I mean, it could be the same types of problems have existed for years and years and tens of years and thousands of years perhaps. And yet there still is that opportunity for us all to make that choice to come into more love. I mean, throughout history, that opportunity has been made available through different teachers and different techniques and different ways of experiencing that truth of God, the universal God, not the God of one people versus another people, but the God of love, the creator of us all and everything, the creator of all that is, which is, however you would look at it, the Father, the Mother, the creator of us all. And it's time for that connection to be made real for us, and we all have that opportunity to a greater and greater extent. And no matter what trials and tribulations we think we're going through, in the next breath, in the next moment, that opportunity is there for us and is available. And the amazing part, when we don't experience it, or when we begin to experience it, is that is really available all the time, 24/7, as they say now. It is available 24/7, because that's what is the energy of the universe, and that is what we, each of us, are, no matter what age, what color, what creed, what country, what sexual preference, any of it. We are that love. And tonight we have somebody who's dedicated her life to the recognition of that again, who's been through, in human terms, trials and tribulations. Now, whether it's the most trials and the most tribulations, or most of us are somewhere in the gray. Most of us in human body have had trials and tribulations, and joys and glories. And we all want more. We want to know love and share love. And Sharon Gardner, she's a spiritual teacher. She's the author of an extraordinary book called Unfolding Journey, a story of self-discovery, of her path through the trials and tribulations into that love. It has spiritual principles to assist in connecting to spirit and being your authentic self. And to be your authentic self is to know that truth, to know God, to know that connection between us all. And then we also have, tonight we're showing a video that we've done of that song, The Question, that Leslie and I wrote, that we had done actually. We did that the next show after 9/11, after the bombings into the World Trade Center. We did that 9/14, and people have requested that we show it again, so we are doing that. And then also we're delighted and tremendously gifted to have this new, brand new, never been seen before mandala, which was made especially for Bridging Heaven and Earth. It's called Heaven to Earth. It was made by guests who were on the show not too long ago, Bonnie Bell and David Todd of Gaia Star Mandalas, who are just real collaborators with Bridging Heaven and Earth in sharing that love and bringing that love out. So we have, again, an extraordinary show and an extraordinary opportunity for us to come deeper into that experience for the next whatever time is left in this show, and then to take it forth in this earth, and to take it forth in every one of our days, and every one of our moments. We have that choice to choose love, and we feel better when we choose it. So join me in a short meditation, then we're going to have the video, we're going to have the mandala, and then Sharon's going to be with us. So please join me in a short meditation. Thank you. So let me set the video and the mandala for you a little bit. The question video, as I said, was written by Leslie and myself. It's sung by Leslie. It's from the Leslie of Bridging Heaven and Earth CD, and we made this on 9/14, 3 days after 9/11. And the crew made it here, the extraordinary crew and the camera people and the directors and the audio people put this together. And that was also a show that Carlos Reynosa, another wonderful supportive friend of Bridging Heaven and Earth, was on, and he had these extraordinary photographs that are in the video. And then you'll also notice that there's a funeral picture in there, and that's and that particular one is of an Israeli family. Now, as I said then, it could be from any, I mean, it could be a Palestinian family, a Israeli family, a Malaysian. There's war and craziness all over. There are people suffering the ravages of our experiences of separation everywhere. There are people mourning their loved ones who were cut short due to our craziness. And then we're also going to show during that thing the mandala that I spoke of that was done by Bonnie and David. And I'd also like to read this thing that Bonnie and David wrote about the mandala. For Alan, Shelley, the crew, and all the viewers of Bridging Heaven and Earth, we have created this mandala called Heaven to Earth. Through its radiant colors and patterns, you can receive uplifting energies to empower you on your path. The outer border is created from a photograph of the core of our Milky Way galaxy. The golden purple field is made from an ametrine crystal embodying the spirit of collaboration. The multicolored circle of petals is based on the number 7 and brings flower blessings to all the 7 chakras. In the middle, a glowing purple crystal heart surrounds the new earth with unending love. Thus, the mandala reaches from galaxy to home planet, heaven to earth, bringing them together in oneness and harmony. With love and blessings, Bonnie, Bell, and David Todd. So we're going to show the mandala again next week and talk more about it. And David has written a meditation for it. So when we're ready, we have the video, we have the mandala, and then Sharon's going to be with us. So just settle in. There's an opportunity. Thank you.
We can try too hard when it's easy. We can want too much we don't really need. We can save our laughter for tomorrow. We can trap ourselves in so very free.
Hi, we're on the set with Sharon. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So when did you find out that love was the answer?
Well, you know, when you grow up really questioning whether you are loved, and you keep hearing this message all the time that God is love, I had to just explore what that was. And my father is a Baptist minister, and it was very confusing for me because in one hand, God is love, but then also God is this...
The wrath of God.
The wrath of God, this God of retribution and anger, and I was threatened always with going to hell.
Really?
And so for me to start exploring, well, if God is love, how could he do this? And for me to even think that God was male was really a difficult concept because I had God and my father really mixed up for a long time. So I began searching. I would say it happened when I was 16, and I was reading a book called The Search for Bridie Murphy, and I just went, oh, wow, it's true that, you know, we do continue to live on. It was something I knew. I just felt reincarnation. So my father, of course, thought I was dabbling in the devil's work.
Right.
And I started actually studying metaphysics, taking yoga and meditation.
But I mean, you had real trauma as a child. I mean, when I talked about trials and tribulations, there was, you know, I was sexually molested when I was 8 years old, from 8 until I was 9, by a member of our church. Teenage boy was babysitting Isn't that a
me.
religious
Right, religious experience. But, you know, I grew up believing that I was sinful and not worthy of God's love. And so
this is in a Baptist minister's house.
Right. And so I really thought there was something wrong with me. It was my fault. I had great shame and guilt around it, so I never spoke about it and actually kind of forgot about it, which is really common for people that are molested. But it had a large effect on me because I didn't have a voice. I didn't express my feelings. And I'd been really intuitive as a child. I saw angels and Jesus when I was like 3 years old. And again, it was always, I got in trouble for it. I was poo-pooed about what I experienced.
We hear that so often, you know, that people take, you know, and go through this whole process.
Right.
I mean, this person is going to be on the show, the last show of the season. I think his parents institutionalized him.
Right, because they think you're kind of crazy.
Right.
And I was just sensitive. You know, I always knew what people were feeling, and we had a lot of trauma in our family because I come from a racially mixed family, and there was a lot of non-acceptance for our racial differences just within the family.
And this was being brought up in the 20th century America, where the, you know, racially mixed was confusing at best.
It is confusing at best.
Right.
And so I had that going on, really being sensitive to what was going on with other people, shutting down myself, my own emotions. And so I spent a lot of time disassociated, as we would say in psychological terms, or out of your body in New Age terms.
Not connected.
Not connected at all.
Right.
And really trying to seek approval and please other people to get the love. And I would, you know, talk to Jesus and the angels and just prayed that I would know that I was worthy of love. And I think
did they answer in your way of experiencing it?
How it was answered for me was whenever I was out in nature, I would feel comforted and at peace. So I was one of those kids who was always like going off to the vacant lot and building a fort, or teepee was actually what I would build. And I would teepee. I have Native American heritage too.
Right.
And I would seek to get close to the earth, to lay on the ground, to hide out actually from what was going on in the world. And that's when I would experience Jesus and the nature spirits and the angels talking to me, and it was a real comfort for me. But what happened, and what happens to a lot of children, is that you close down. You have this kind of what you would call like an imaginary world, which people don't think of as real. And you close down what that connection is with other people. And I did that a lot. I became the helper and the pleaser and the good little girl. And it didn't really serve me very well.
Not in terms of knowing yourself. And
not in
being
terms of knowing
empowered.
myself, right. I didn't know myself and didn't feel empowered. Very much felt that I did what other people wanted me to do. And it actually
And the society
changed.
and the societal forces, and we get molded into this other being.
Right.
It's really a trip. And
One of the things that I work with other people is looking at that programming, the beliefs that you get embedded with that tell you you're not good enough, you don't do enough, that you're not worthy of love. And for me, what changed with that was in 1983, I had a near-death experience as a result of an ectopic pregnancy. And this relates to, of course, having been molested and carrying guilt and shame in my body, and then my body not functioning and going out of balance. So from that...
because everything's connected. And we try to
everything.
separate things out, and physical and spiritual and emotional, rather than they're all being connected and they all affect each other. We're all one.
Exactly. And so from the death experience, I had the awakening of who I was. And up until that time, I had read everything and studied a lot in metaphysics, but it was all in my head. It was all mental knowledge. It hadn't made that journey down into my heart. So I was able to talk about things, but I didn't really know it experientially. But I wanted to know it experientially. And I remember at times, just asking that question that so many of us ask, like, who am I, and why am I here, and what am I doing on this earth, and why am I unhappy, and where is the peace? I remember going to a meditation retreat, and it was a Vipassana meditation, and I'm in meditation looking inside for the peace. And the first day I was in a serious headache because there was no peace inside. I kept going, where is it? All I found inside were all these judgmental, critical thoughts that I had about myself. And I kept going.
That must have been a good day.
It went on for 3 days, actually.
Oh, that was blissful.
And it was my first time, too. I remember it was my first time. I was a meat eater. It was my first time having a vegetarian experience, so I was hungry, too.
You wanted to bite one of the Buddhists. Bite a Buddhist. That's the new...
Right. But it was searching for yourself, trying to find where you were. And once I realized, though, that all these beliefs that I had, this internal dialogue that we continually have running in our head that tends to disempower us and limit us and put us down, it's not who we are, it's just the program. And I was able to disidentify myself from the program.
And how did you do that? Did you have a technique or a tool? Was it, sometimes it's happened with techniques and tools, and it just happens like, oh, thank God, here's the difference. And you know the difference. Yeah.
It actually happened from watching the thoughts and I kept coming back to my breath, and it's a technique
Well, something's
I teach.
watching the thoughts, so at some point it becomes clear, right?
Right, it's like who's breathing, who is thinking the thought. And so it's like, where did this thought arise from? Where did it come from? And I was questioning all that. Instead of before, I just believed it. I thought that was who I was. Right. And again, the death experience helped me really know that I was more than the body, and I was more than these emotions, and I was more than this mind that has these crazy thoughts. It helped me really see my essence of who I was, the light that I was, and that I did continue. So kind of like, a lot of times we know stuff and we hear stuff, you hear the truth speaking and it touches you someplace and you go, oh yeah, that's truth. Well, from that experience, it was like a lot of things that I had known was validated. It was confirmed, even though things in the environment and in my culture and in the religion invalidated me.
Yeah, it was unreasonable that it validated, but you knew that.
So it began a process then of trusting what I knew. And it's something that I teach today, is how to really listen inside to your spiritual self, to discern that from the chatter, the critical voice, the voice that says you can't do it. To discern what your spirit is telling you and to go, okay, I'm willing to listen. And what's the hardest thing for most people is trusting it. I mean, I can say, you know, I grew up hearing it. I didn't know that was what I was hearing. Sometimes I would see things and I would go, oh, I didn't see that. You know, oh, I didn't hear that. No, because it was too scary.
It was against the whole momentum and all the grain of it.
Right.
I mean, it takes a certain amount of courage and a certain amount of faith that it's hard to have before we have enough experience.
And when you get any kind of message from that inner voice, that inner guidance, it's going to move you out of your comfort zone. It's going to encourage you to keep growing and evolving, because that's what our life experience is here to teach us, that we're to gain from this, we're to grow from it.
At some point, it's almost like the wind becomes that's in your sails, so it doesn't always have to be. In other words, you know, your comfort zone is bigger.
It becomes bigger.
Right.
It definitely becomes bigger. But what happens most often is when we do hear messages that are going to move us out of that comfort zone, we get afraid. And then the old programming kicks right in. And a lot of times it happens in an instant. You get a voice and you don't even recognize that you got that message from that inner voice, and you're immediately in fear about it.
Would you say that being internally quiet or slowed down would be part of being able to hear that voice and be able to take it in?
That's a really good question, and I will answer it yes and no.
And that's a good answer. Now we're done.
Because what happens is that voice gets louder and louder whether you're quiet or not. So yes, you can get quiet and still and listen, but sometimes, I mean, you can be driving in your car and something will just hit you. You'll be watching a movie and it'll come, and you're not in like a quiet, necessarily meditative state.
But wouldn't you say that the quieter you are, the more subtle the message could be, and it doesn't take something traumatic? Because usually, you know, when we're going along and we're like kind of blockheads, it takes, you know, a sledgehammer to slow us down. You know, we're going at a tremendous speed. I mean, that's the...
You're going at a tremendous speed, or you're not listening. And so the message has to get stronger. So then things happen in your life that we would call crises. Things we're going to, you know, slam dunk you, the traumas, so that you kind of wake up to something that you need to pay attention.
You know, at some point your prayer is, you know, let me learn the next lesson, but don't make it too, you know.
Right.
You know, too traumatic.
Too traumatic.
I don't want to get hit by a car, you know, but if it takes that, okay, you know. Yeah.
Well, you know, if you have the belief that life is hard and it's a struggle and that it takes you, you know, a sledgehammer to wake you up, then it probably will. Right. And so
I don't happen to have it. So.
I decided I could say, you know, it could be easy, and I could learn through joyful experiences too. It didn't always have to be through trauma. I think it happens more. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The quieter, the more subtle you are, the more there can be that momentum of joy. I think that is the process. I agree with you that the quieter we get, the more we're listening. And then you hear the subtle messages before they have to be screaming in your ear.
Right.
That's true. And I recommend ways to do that, you know, not only sitting meditations, but walking meditations, being in nature, being just present, you know, taking this moment and breathing in and just being here. I tell people, hey, if you're waiting online in the grocery store, it's a perfect opportunity to connect with yourself.
Not to read the National Enquirer. I've been screwed all these years. I thought it's to find out what Barbara Streisand's doing. No, I do
You
both.
have that choice.
I do both.
You have that choice.
I must say I do both. Sometimes I'm interested in what it says on the cover. I'm standing there. But go on, I'm silly, of course.
But we all do that. You know, we all distract ourselves with so many things because we don't want to feel what we feel. We don't want to think those thoughts. We don't want to be connected to ourselves. So it's like, let me be out there involved in someone else's life. I was really good at that. Let me care more about you. Yeah, right. I don't know.
So you must know how.
But it's definitely something that we all do because we don't want to be connected to ourselves. Because
you mean the people who are standing on line for the last 4 months for the Star Wars movie to open are a little whacked? Oh, I don't want to be judgy.
I'm not judging that because there's great spiritual messages that happen in movies. I love the movies.
Yeah, and standing there for 4 months, too.
Yeah, but just think what they might be experiencing, who they might be connecting with.
I'm a little concerned about it, actually, but no, I'm kidding.
But anyway, back to your question about being still. I think what the stillness comes from is the intention that you want to stay connected to yourself and that you will do whatever it takes to breathe into yourself, to listen to yourself. And even it might be listening to all the crazy thoughts that are going on in your head, to going, oh, this is what's stopping me. This is what I'm really afraid of. Oh, this is where this came from my religion.
Can we separate out if we're moving too fast? See, that's my question. See, I mean, you're talking about watching this, but if you're on the train, it's hard to watch the train moving.
Because you don't even know you're on the train.
You're on the
train.
You're
just moving, right.
So I think that something's got to, whether it's a traumatic thing or a meditation technique or a guru or, throughout history there have been various and sundry methods. And sometimes it's just, a near-death experience or something. Yeah, that just says...
Stop. Or it's just life itself that says stop.
Right.
And one thing, I'm a healing practitioner, and people's bodies are telling them all the time to stop, to rest more, to slow down, pay attention to what's going on in your body. And those are really big signals.
You would think. But sometimes the momentum of our busyness overtakes that. I mean, it's amazing how the messages don't get through, I think. I mean, that's, to me, the amazing thing is with all the gifts we've been given, how far we've come. And then with all the trouble, it's like how far we haven't come. So we're kind of always stuck in the middle as a human being. Now I think, maybe we're at the time where we're breaking out of that. But it's, it's an interesting thing to develop that separation from our momentum and our conditioning in a way.
And when you're caught in the conditioning, it's true that you don't know that you're caught, but we as human beings know when we're in pain. We may have a high threshold for pain. We may decide, well, I'm going to distract myself from this pain. But there'll come a point where you'll go, I'm in pain. This doesn't work for me, what I'm doing. And I want something different.
I want to hurt somebody else. No, we go through that. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just discussing the human condition. We do that sometimes.
It is. It gets projected onto someone else.
So,
right. But
I mean, to me, it's like a gift when we can come to that place where we actually do want to slow down. I mean, that too is a gift, and that too is, it's hard to have that intent when you don't know that intent is there. That is the trouble.
And all I can say is that, everything in our life serves us. Everything, whatever we're going through. Everything serves. And so we're on a spiritual path whether we recognize it or not, whether we're moving too fast or not. Your own life experiences will show you. Because life is your mirror. It's going to show you, show you things about yourself. And, we are on a free will planet. We get to go, yes, I'm going to pay attention or not. I'm going to stay in pain or not. And I've had clients of mine say to me, I realize I'm choosing pain, but I'm so afraid to choose the other way.
Even if you can put it on like a chalkboard, I mean, if you could set it out for them, where they can actually look at it, where they are separate from both options.
Let me give you an example, because it shows up a lot in relationships. Somebody can be in a really unhappy relationship. I mean, I've been there myself, where you feel invalidated, unloved, you feel nothing's really working for you. You keep
There's not
giving
much
up,
joy.
Not much joy. You keep giving up yourself and giving up yourself. And I have a client that actually goes through that, and she gets so afraid, and she says, I know I'm afraid, I know I'm in pain.
To be alone, to be separate.
alone.
Right.
And she goes, I know I'm choosing this because I'm too afraid to choose something else because I don't want to go through pain. And I say, but you're already in pain.
Well, can
You're
somebody consciously
in
make that choice, do you think? Can that ever be a conscious choice?
it's a conscious choice with as much consciousness as they have at the moment.
Right.
Now, it's consciousness in terms of recognizing that they're in fear.
That's a step.
That's a step.
Right, absolutely.
But it takes great courage.
So in other words, in that particular
it.
instant, the recognition of the pain of the relationship, it's a known pain, and I'll stick with that.
It's a known pain, whereas making a change is unknown. And you know, us human beings, we just really don't like change.
We don't like the unknown.
And we don't like the unknown. Those are like our two biggest fears. Fear of the unknown and fear of anything changing.
Why do you think that is as a human species? Why do you think that would come out that way?
You know, I don't know. You know, if I had to figure out why human beings are the way they are, and I mean, I don't know.
We have a couple of more weeks on this show, so
I just, you know, you get to a point and you just accept this is the way we are as human beings, and so this is what we have to work with. And so you have to work with, I know I get afraid. I know people get afraid. And so then it's like, well, then what do you do when you're afraid?
Go ahead. Tell us.
Well, you know, you can distract yourself. You can go, okay, I'll use alcohol and drugs and TV and the computer games or the movies or other people's problems or food or, you know.
Oh my God.
Anything to keep me from feeling this fear. Or we could go.
You do a television show? No.
Or you could do this. You could go, I'm really scared here. And I'm going to just breathe and feel it. And I'm going to tell myself that I can handle this and I'll be okay. And breath is the pump that moves the energy of the emotion. And the fear starts to move just by breathing. Just by that very inhalation and exhalation, that anxiety, that tension, that fear will begin to move. And then
move where?
It just moves out into the ethers, into the universe. It gets released.
Does it go to someone else?
No. Actually, it's just an energy that gets released. And if you can stay with that process, and then instead of giving yourself another scary thought by, oh, but this is going to happen, and if I do that, and oh, I'm so worried, you know, if you jump into the future or you go back into the past about whatever happened to you in the past and how awful it was, if you could stay present and go, I'm really okay. In this moment, I'm okay, and I'm going to be okay. And this is how we use our mind in a positive way.
So it's like a way of be here now.
Be here now.
Remaining ourselves in the moment. And that's, in the moment is really the only place we're alive and living. I mean, the past and the future is all mental, it's all thought. We can't be there.
We can't be. If you're in the past or in the future, you're not present.
And in the present is the joy and the love and the connectedness.
Exactly. That's where you feel the connection, is in the present. When you can be present with yourself. And use your mind to tell yourself positive, affirming, empowering messages instead of these scary messages. Oh, no one will ever love me if I leave this relationship. I mean, why would you tell yourself that?
Because you believe it to be true.
Because you believe it. Yes, but where did you get that belief? And just because you believe something doesn't mean it's the truth. It's just a belief. Right. I look at it, and this is where you disidentify from it, and you go, it's just something that was programmed in. And who gave me the program was probably crazy and in fear too. Like I look at, I'm not going to believe some of the things my father told me about God. I was like, you know, he had a misperception. I have found out that it can be different. So I don't sit there and tell myself, oh, I'm going to go to hell now if I make a mistake.
Would you say that once you allow that machine to work, I mean, we've talked about this before on the show, the machine of you're a good person, that the nature of the machine is going to tell you you're a bad person, so there's some way you want to unplug that machine for a while and then become that you're the master of the machine, that the computer doesn't rule you, that you turn it on and off, and you know what I mean? Rather than, because in my experience, once that machine is working, you're a good person. You know, then you go, oh, yeah, right, that's what, and then the next one is, oh, yeah, but you're not as good as that. You know, I mean, it's just the nature.
It's the nature of the machine. It's
right,
the computer.
The nature of the machine.
Or the
mind,
program.
they call the mind,
right.
The program.
The program. And you're using the word machine, I'm using the word program, because these thoughts are programmed in. but we can change the program. I love, what happened with computer technology, because now I can trash this, I can delete this thought. I don't have to let my...
And so you think you can delete enough thoughts that the machine or the mind or the program will be clean, will not have a virus, will be clean and not tell you, will only tell you good things. Because that hasn't been my experience with that machine.
This is part of being human. This is part of being human.
Which part?
It's the part that we're fear-based. That's part of the machine. It's like you could say, what are human beings like? Well, I think we're kind of wired to be afraid. And so you have to be vigilant of that. You have to know, if I get a message to grow, the first thing that's probably going to happen is I'll be afraid. If something comes into my life and I have to change, I'll probably be afraid. And so you go, it's part of the machine. It's part of being human that we're going to be afraid. And so it's like, okay, I accept that I'm going to be afraid. Now, how do I deal with the fear so that it doesn't stop me?
So you're saying use the machine in a way that it will serve you. Is there any way, do you think that is a better procedure than disassociating yourself from the machine?
You have to realize you're not the machine.
So in a way you are disassociated.
Yes, you disassociate.
So at that point, it doesn't matter if the machine tells you you're good or bad, because it's going to tell you both of them. It's going to whack you around all over.
It is. And you have to, this is where you have to really center into your essence, which is your spiritual self that really knows, that's able to look at the machine or the program and going, oh, this is just one of those crazy, insane thoughts that's scaring you to death.
And you teach in the book and in your workshops and classes methods and techniques to allow that disassociation, to recognize we're not all these thoughts, and we're not all the negativities, and we're not even the good things that we think. I mean, we can experience something that's much faster and much more joyous and beautiful.
Right, I do.
Good. And how do you do that? I mean, are there specific techniques that you could share with us and the 14 million people watching this evening?
Well, one of them I've already shared, which is you begin with your breath. You begin with your breath, breathing into yourself and coming present with what's going on. And you begin to watch those thoughts that are telling you whatever's scaring you, because the fear is arising from the thought.
Right.
And so you want to be able to go, I'm not this thought, I'm not this belief. Just because I believe it doesn't mean it's true. It's kind of stepping back from it instead of thinking that you are it.
And is that the reason you wanted to write this book, Unfolding Journey, just to allow people the opportunity to see your journey and your trials and tribulations and coming into that disassociation and coming into that joy?
Well, believe it or not, that was not the reason I wanted to write the book. The reason I wrote the book was I was just following my guidance and to write. And when I first started, I didn't think it was even going to be a book, and I thought it was just going to be for me and for my own healing process. And a lot of the classes I teach, people would say to me, oh, we should write down these techniques, but that's not what I responded to.
There was an inner movement to
There
write.
was definitely a calling to do it. And I will tell you, I went, wait a minute, Spirit, you made a mistake here. I'm fine with talking. I'm not a writer. And I went into great resistance about it. And then I had to go, I'm like, not walking my talk, because I said, listen and trust your guidance. And there I was.
When it comes to you.
Doing something, out of my comfort zone. And so I was actually, I had surrendered to it and said, okay, I'll do it. I don't know how to do it. I just don't know how to do it. And I was really afraid. And I was, it was one of those Sunday mornings I had the adult ed schedule out. And again, I wasn't like in a really quiet space, but this message came in, take a class. I opened the adult ed schedule, and it was a writing class right on that page.
Really, right on that page?
I went, oh, okay.
But it was in German, so you had to learn German.
No. But what I realized is that when we are called to do something, our inner guidance, our spirit will guide us step by step in how to do it.
There is a smoothness, there is a wind in our sails once we're aligning with that. And the fear goes away. I mean, it does become that, the wheels are greased.
It was not easy, I will tell you, because in the writing of the story, I had to share things about myself to show my growth that, my family didn't know about. So I had to share things with them.
I'm sure they loved your description of them to begin with in the opening few chapters.
All I can say
that
is...
must have been a blissful time to... You're not putting this book out, honey.
Let me tell you, before it ever became in written form, I had these conversations and would tell the truth about what I was experiencing, what they were going to get to see.
And have they come to any level of grips with that, or is that...
They're very supportive of me.
Wow,
in fact,
wonderful.
On Mother's Day, I was talking with my mother, and she said, I read your book again, and she said, I wanted to really acknowledge you for some things that you said in that book that I didn't really acknowledge you for when it first came out. She said, oh, it was really great, and we're really proud of you, but she went specifically over some things, and so did my older brother. I mean, he went chapter by chapter over things with me that he really got from the book. So my family has been very supportive of it.
Is your father still alive?
My father is still preaching.
Really?
And we have agreed to disagree. We say we love each other, but we have different perceptions about God and what's going to happen to us when we die.
And there's still a nice family interaction.
Right. He's still praying for me so I don't go to hell, but
Right.
it's
and you have
okay.
one foot there as far as he's concerned.
So I tell him I don't believe that hell is someplace else, that it's what we create here.
Yeah, suffering here is big enough, I would think.
It is.
Right.
So we have definitely come to an acceptance of one another, which was a long time in coming.
Yeah, that's very beautiful.
So I'm very happy with that. And so can I tell you one other really, really interesting thing that I put in the book, and it was a chapter on discovering your soul's purpose. And for the longest time I was questioning, why am I here? What am I here to do? And again, this was through the death experience that I realized that my purpose wasn't just to write a book or do healing, even though I had callings to do that, that my purpose really is to love. That I'm here to learn to love myself, and to love others.
That's true for everybody, wouldn't you say?
Some other people may be learning to be patient, or I don't know, I think each of us have to question inside, what is our greatest lesson here? And I know that it's mine, and that's part of what I teach, is people finding what it is that their heart is calling them to learn, to experience, or to create. And mine of love may be different. Maybe someone else's, their lesson is to just be joyful and playful this lifetime. Maybe for someone else, their lesson is to really learn how to handle money. Who knows? And so, again, it comes back to listening to that inner voice and what it's telling you. And ask those questions. What am I doing? What is my next step? Why am I here? Or some experiences come to me, and what's this experience for? What's it teaching me, or what am I getting out of it? Is it giving me what I want?
Do you find that there are more and more people coming to those questions?
It's hard to say because I'm in that field, and so that's what I see.
Well, when you do workshops, do more people come? Do more people are open to that? People who conceptually you wouldn't think would be open to it are open to it now?
I see, it's the work I've been doing actually for 12 years now, doing these kind of spiritual development workshops. I have one coming, starting this weekend, starting tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, called Heal Yourself. And because I'm in this field, that's what I see a lot. But when I look out into the larger world, I see that, there's still so much non-acceptance of diversity. There's still so much fear and hatred. And I can see, pockets all over the world where people are wanting to love themselves and wanting to love others and wanting to grow. And my intention is to just keep holding that it happens through our world, our planet.
Yeah, one breath at a time.
Yeah.
One person at a time. Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, we're in a unique position because, 25 times a year, extraordinary people come in and tell their stories.
Right.
And literally from all over the world. And really the message we're getting is that it looks like the building's standing, but a lot of the bolts are getting loosened.
Well,
The building of fear, the building of separation. And then there's a string that all the bolts are loosened in, that the building's not going to, it is not as strong as it looks. It is not as pervasive as it looks.
This time it's an incredible time for all of us to be alive on the planet, because it's a time when the buildings are falling down, the old structures are disintegrating, and we're seeing that everywhere. And we can lose faith and get really saddened by all the strife and pain that's in the world, or we can hold that intention, that light, that this has to fall apart for new growth to come, for transformation to occur. And I've been through this many times in my own life, more than just even the death experience, where things fall apart and it's an opportunity to transform. Old ways of doing something, old ways of being fall apart, and sometimes it's from a health crisis or a financial crisis in a relationship, because it's not allowing you as your spirit to really shine. And so the old constrictions have to fall away.
If you're expanding, it has to break
Well,
through.
and I think that's happening on our planet.
Right.
That this is a time of transformation. And so as much as we might see darkness happening, there is still great light here.
Yeah, I think that's, what we've been seeing is that there's just an enormous amount of consciousness growing, and people asking those questions and seeking those answers and really wanting to know, and wanting to know the love, really wanting to feel love and share it. I mean, really, you might be right. I mean, when you say that, it's somebody's destiny to handle money or learn how to handle money. But a human being, the basis of a human being, as far as I can tell, is to feel love and share it. And the rest are like, to me, someone's destiny isn't to wear a blue suit. And it would be the same thing as to handle money or to have a good relationship. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in us, now whether there's time and space involved in that, you're probably right in terms of time and space. I really don't think in terms of time and space.
Right.
But, at some point for all of us as a species, as returning into that essence, the way you talk about, is to feel love and share it. And that's what we're here to do. And I know that that's what your life and, however we would describe it, mm-hmm. slightly differently or the same. But
I do think that's what we're here to do, but I don't want to, again, judge someone else who may be here and that's not what they're here to learn, because who are we to know what our soul's evolvement is? And there's different souls.
Is that a limitation? I mean, is it possible we could know?
I think we can know ours.
No, can we know? I mean, does God know?
I think God is within us, and that it's a place of all-knowing. Yes, I do.
Okay,
and
so if you're in that place, and you and the
mm-hmm.
Father or you and the Mother are one, would you know?
I would know for myself. I may not know for someone else.
May you know for someone else?
Let me just say, because I'm a healing...
Is that a possibility?
It's totally a possibility, and I was going to say, because I'm a healing practitioner, I'm very intuitive. I know a lot of things with people that I work with that I bring to their consciousness. And that's because I'm tuned in to God, to their spirit with my spirit. We're in that place of oneness. And there's things that I can know, things that I do know, and that I assist others in helping them come to that knowing for themselves.
Yeah, I know
so,
you do.
So, yes.
I mean, that might be an old residue of like a gruel bowl kind of, that I can't know, but you can know, and you probably do know.
And the reason...
But we got to go. So we got to go from go to know to go.
We're ready to go.
We're ready to go. And we do know that this show is coming to an end. If you want any information on Sharon, her workshops, anything that's going on, the mandalas, David and Bonnie, the video, the CD, Alan, 805-687-2053. It's an opportunity again. We love you. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back whenever in whatever city. We love you. Good night. God bless you.